Only 24 years old and already a two-time Champions League winner, Vinicius Jr is undoubtedly one of the best players in the world at this time. However, he's also a very controversial figure and a player who's not necessarily well thought of at all times. But why is that? Why is Vinicius so disliked? We'll start off with Vinicius for when he was in Brazil. He came through at Flamengo and was eventually signed for Real Madrid for €45 million. He was originally meant to go to Barcelona, but that deal fell through. Real Madrid weren't willing to lose out on who was being deemed the next Neymar. And despite being exceptional at underage level, a lot of people in Brazil doubted that he actually had the talent to go on and prove himself in Brazil, never mind in Spain. His start to life in Spain wasn't great. However, he was only a very young player, and he definitely paved the pathway for Real Madrid's current transfer model, which part of that heavily involves snapping up a lot of young talent from Brazil. Rodrigo, Renier, and the most recent one being Endrick would all follow him. Now, for as much as Vinicius struggled at the start at Real Madrid, it's absolutely no denying it now that he is one of, if not their most important player. He is also one of the best attackers in the world and definitely one of the best wingers in the world. And usually some of the most loved players in the world are the skillful Brazilian wingers, so why is Vinicius so disliked? Whilst there's no surefire answer, and whilst there's no surefire individual situation that can sum up why Vinicius is disliked so much, we can put this into two categories, where sometimes it's totally bang out of order and Vinicius should never need to deal with this dislike that he's receiving, and sometimes he could be seen to be bringing it on himself. We'll start with some of the really bad criticism and problems that he's faced in his career, mainly being, as I mentioned previously, there was a lot of criticism from Brazilian pundits and Spanish pundits when he first joined Real Madrid. He hadn't even had a chance to really be in the team yet and develop. He was only a young player, and people were already saying he is absolutely nowhere near good enough and shouldn't be anywhere near Real Madrid.
You can never make it. You're supposed to be a dinner man, serving dinner to the students in the secondary school.
Really harsh and really unfair in my opinion. However, even though he's only 24, the two big controversies in his career and two of the big situations that would have been really hard and really harsh for Vinicius to deal with would involve the situations where 3 Valencia fans were actually jailed for 8 months for racism chants within the stands, and this isn't the first time or the only time that Vinicius has had a lot of problems with racism in his time in Spain. And even individually within his own team, when he was first coming through at Real Madrid and he had, a lot of poor performances, Karim Benzema was actually caught in a Champions League match with Borussia Mönchengladbach, whispering to teammate Ferland Mendy and Thibaut Courtois, "Don't pass to Vinicius, on my mother's life he's playing against us." Vinicius was within earshot of this. Maybe he heard it, maybe he didn't, but the cameras certainly picked it up. Now, whilst the racism that Vinicius has received is absolutely bang out of order and horrible, no player should ever have to deal with that. Not every individual piece of hatred towards him is solely just because of the colour of his skin. So why else is Vinicius so disliked? There's a few reasons for this, and earlier on in his career when he wasn't so good, particularly with the situations involving Benzema, he was very heavily criticised for his decision making by his own teammates. He had all the skill in the world, but he really didn't have all that much game intelligence to match it. Now, since Carlo Ancelotti's come into Real Madrid, that's totally changed, and his intelligence is actually top-notch now. His decision-making has been vastly improved, and it's unbelievably improved his game. But when you have the Brazilian flair and the Brazilian talent and the Brazilian mindset that Vinicius Jr obviously has, but not the numbers to back it up, you can see why in his early stages of his career, fans and teammates would be very frustrated by that. And another part of why he's so disliked is because of that Brazilian flair. He's disliked because of what makes him so good. He is an emotional player, he is a very skillful player, he really can make defenders and other players look an absolute fool trying to defend against him. And whilst that's not a reason for at all that he should be hated in the way where he's receiving racist abuse, you can absolutely dislike a player because of that playstyle, which some people do, that as well as him really complaining a lot to the referees during any decision. He is a very emotional player, he complains a lot anytime you're watching him. And this sort of stuff, when it's happening all the time, which it usually is with Vinicius, can lead to certain people not developing a hatred for him, but just a distaste for him, just to say, I actually don't like watching him, he complains too much. Which I think a lot of people forget. Neymar was also very heavily criticised for this during this stage of his career. So just the general way he conducts himself on the pitch, complaining a lot, he's seen to at times dive a lot. Can make it very frustrating for fans, neutrals, even fans of Real Madrid to watch him at times. And whilst that's not going to make everyone dislike you, it can make some people just get a bit fed up and bored of watching you. There's no denying his talent, but when you're doing stuff like that and going through rough patches, especially as he has done at times for Brazil, it can make it very frustrating to watch you, because ultimately a lot of people depend on Vinicius. As I stated earlier, Vinicius is one of Real Madrid's best players, and he is one of Brazil's best players, or at least he should be on paper. So when you've got this attitude about you, this, not arrogance, but this intense belief that you are a superstar, you either have to be able to take the criticism, or you have to very rarely put in a poor performance. Consistency is key, and while Vinicius is way more consistent than he was a few years ago, and he probably will only continue to get more consistent, if he does go through rough patches, but he still has this attitude, it is going to be criticism. And this attitude can again be shown sometimes in his actions off the pitch. A lot of people were really frustrated and lost a lot of respect for him and Real Madrid over the recent Ballon d'Or ceremony. Now, whether your opinion is that Vinicius should have won the Ballon d'Or, or whether your opinion is that Rodri should have won the Ballon d'Or, I think what we can admit wholeheartedly is it's not as if Vinicius was passed up for the Ballon d'Or to give it to Harry Maguire or Antony or someone outright ridiculous. Rodri's one of Spain's best players, he's one of Man City's best players, he was a Premier League champion and a European champion with Spain. But for him and the rest of Real Madrid not to show up for the Ballon d'Or ceremony at all because they felt it was that much of a joke that Rodri was going to win the Ballon d'Or over him, that lost a lot of people's respect. Messi and Ronaldo were regularly bagging 50-60 goals a season each, going toe-to-toe as the two best players in the world, and they were regularly having to sit there and watch the other one lift a trophy. It was just really disrespectful, really self-entitled, and that will lose a lot of people's respect. So whilst the racist abuse and the hate from teammates and pundits at times is 100% unjustified and unfair, sometimes the criticism and the hatred towards him, sometimes the criticism and the dislike towards him is warranted by fans who are just really frustrated and a bit fed up with the way he conducts himself. There's no denying that Vinicius is one of the best players on the planet, he is absolutely fantastic and he will only get better. But it is a very interesting one because whilst he is so loved and such a great player, he is also really disliked by a lot of people. But that's just my thoughts on the matter. If you guys feel differently, please let me know in the comments, I'd be interested to hear what people have to say. Thank you to everyone who's made it this far into the video, and I will see everyone in the next.